Hey everybody, this is Scoop Malaire here. This episode was a little awkward, and I'll tell you guys why for a couple of reasons. For starters, my father passed away about 3 weeks ago now, and after he passed away, we let a period of time go by before we had his celebration of life. And I've never been to a celebration of life before, but by the time we had this event, it was about 2.5 weeks after he had passed, and I was in a very good place. And I thought a celebration of life was a celebration of life. But when I got there, I realized that the 45 or 50 of my parents' closest friends and our relatives it was more of a funeral for them. But I had already prepared myself to speak, and it was going to be very difficult. I could not have spoken a week before, and I thought about that, but I was in a good enough place, and there were a few things I wanted to point out, and I'm going to show them to you guys in just a second. But I just have to mention that although so many other people were there in almost like a funereal type of a mood, I had to keep myself in a good enough mood to be able to speak. Otherwise, I could not have made it through it. So if I come across during the speech as being, happy or okay or pleasant, especially for being at a funeral type of a situation, it was the mode I had to stay in order to get through it. I also, though, I wanted to bring a microphone because I've gotten used to bringing these little microphones with me just in case I have something I want to record, but it just didn't seem right to do that speaking at our synagogue for my father's celebration. So I just went with the microphone I had there. So the audio is not great, but if you're able to listen through it, I hope you guys will get the message that I give here, because I'm really kind of proud of the way the words came out that really pay tribute to my father.
I have to start by saying I can only do this, I'm looking at this as a celebration of life, because it really is. But to celebrate my dad's life, you really have to include my mom, because you couldn't include my dad without including my mom. And I really like to celebrate her life today too. And there are just a couple things I want to make sure you know about my dad. And one of them, I'm sure you probably don't know. And the other one, I'm not sure he knew. True story. So the first one, when we were younger, you guys think my dad collected movies. You should see the albums. He collected records. And when we were growing up, none of us had closets in our rooms, because if you opened the door, they were full of records. And he had this brilliant idea, open up a booth at a flea market and sell these records. So he called it Stu's Oldie Goldie. They were all soundtracks from the 30s and the 40s, or 78s of classic things, or different singles from the times. And he opened up Stu's Oldie Goldies in the heart of downtown Oakland Park, Florida, on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard at the Playlist Flea Market, and for 2 weeks nobody bought a single record. But while he was there, he met a guy who bootlegged 8-track tapes of soul music. And he started buying, I hope the statute of limitations is over, but he started buying these bootleg 8-tracks and then eventually cassettes and selling them. And what I remember most was my father being able, and this is a funny time musically. This was right as rhythm and blues and the soul music of the OJs and the Commodores and Earth, Wind & Fire was big, but along were coming things like Prince and Rick James and Lakeside and the things that would become the rap music. And my dad could talk to the older customers, the younger customers, and on Sundays when it was Mahalia Jackson and the Mighty Clouds of Joy, he could talk to them just as comfortably. And I remember being very envious of my father that he could do that. And in my life, when I have found myself in situations to be able to be in any environment, to be comfortable there, I know my dad would be proud of that. The second thing, now this is the one he doesn't know, it's Sunday, and we're at a synagogue, so it's okay to talk football. But I can't, if there are football fans there, I can't make this analogy without at least explaining this in football terms, okay? But in football, when you've tried for 3 downs to get those 10 yards and you don't get a first down and now you have to punt the ball to the other team, you bring this guy off the bench and all he does is punt the football. And he kicks the football to the other team. When he kicks it far and they catch the ball and they try to run it back the other way. But every once in a while that punter kicks the ball way too far. And it's 10, 15, 20 yards further than anybody expected. By the time the receiver runs back there and gets it, he's got so much space in front of him, and the blockers have time to get in space. And a lot of times, that's when you get the best punt return. And in that case, they say that the punter outkicked his coverage. Well, my dad outkicked his coverage. And along the way, he didn't know it, and we didn't know it. but it taught my brothers and I the value of out-kicking your coverage and picking your wife. I got about 90 years together with our 3 amazing wives, and they've all made our lives so much better, which is exactly what my dad got when he out-kicked his coverage. So if he was here today, he really would think of this more as a celebration, and you will never know how much it would have meant to him to see the people that are here, because you guys meant so much to him. And I really appreciate you guys showing up and being here today and being here for my mom. Thank you guys.
There really isn't much more that I can say, except that I just want to point out what I kind of said towards the beginning. I'm really lucky to be born into such an amazing family. And I say this so truthfully, you cannot celebrate my father's life without mentioning my mother. I was lucky to be born and raised to 2 of the greatest people in the world. And all I can try to do is emulate that for my kids as we continue to raise them. Thanks a lot for watching. Check back soon. And remember, subscribe, like, and share for even more Scoop Malaire. Bye, you guys.